Golden Radio Hour.
In just a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the six-shooter, just one of the many great stars brought to you Sundays on NBC. Every Sunday, hear Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy in The Marriage, Sir Laurence Olivier on Theatre Royal, Lawrence Tibbett with the Golden Voices, Helen Hayes, Frederick March, Rex Harrison, and Lily Palmer on the NBC Star Playhouse. All of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the six-shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother of pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the six-shooter. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company present James Stewart as the six-shooter. A transcribed series of dramas based on the life of Britt Ponset, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends. Now, in just a moment, immediately following this important announcement, you'll hear Act One of The Six-Shooter. Have you heard about the Joneses? They're going to Europe for 6 weeks. They'll start in England, then visit Holland, Belgium, France, and Italy. It'll be a wonderful trip, a lifelong dream come true. And someday, it can be your turn to do just as they did. Put your money where it will earn $4 for every $3 you invest in United States savings bonds. Start planning today. United States savings bonds can take you to Europe, too. Now, Act One of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart.
There were over 400 head in the McAdams herd, 400 white-faced Texas cattle, and only 3 of us to shove them along the trail to Abilene. But the McAdams boys had promised me a tenth of whatever the herd brought, so I signed on for the drive. And it looked like I was going to earn the money, too. There'd been a cloudburst the second night out, and well, it sounded like we might be heading into some more bad weather. The sky was all black and purple, and the wind began blowing up little balloons of dust. Thunder made the steers restless. They still remember that first storm. They didn't like the idea of going through another one.
All right, come on now. Come on, cattle. Hi-ya. Hi, cattle.
I can see the rain now. It hadn't hit us yet. It's still a couple of miles ahead, but I can see it real plain. Streaking down across the sky like little silver lines on a gray blackboard. In the canyon where we were, the sun was still shining. It gave me a sort of funny feeling. Rain and sunshine all at once, sort of like being two places at the same time. Bryce McAdams, he came pounding up from behind and reined up alongside of me and Star.
Oh, boy. What do you think, Britt?
Well, if that wind don't change, we'll be getting wet inside of 15 minutes.
Don't look like it'll change.
No, afraid not.
And I guess we might as well keep on going. It'll be easier to handle if we're out of this canyon when the storm hits.
Yeah.
I'll ride up until north.
Okay.
Norm! Hey! Yes? Get the light out. Keep moving.
What's the hurry? Weak enough for you?
Do as I tell you. Stop beeping.
Okay. Come on, move it.
Norm will speed 'em up, Britt. I'm going back and see that there ain't no stragglers.
Want me to give Norm a hand?
No, I can handle it myself. It's about time he learned how.
All right, you're the boss.
Yeah. Just keep an eye on him, Britt.
Sure. That lightning had hit a pine tree about 50 yards up the side of the canyon. And when it toppled over, it started a couple of boulders rolling down the side of the ravine toward us. That was all the cattle needed to set them off. One of the longhorns took a look at the rock and let out a bawl that told the other animals to get out of his way.
Hey, stop them, Norm. Stop them before they stand.
Life circled around and galloped over toward his brother. But Norm wasn't waiting for him. No. I saw him head up the slope of the canyon, and it looked to me like he didn't intend to stop anything. All he cared about was getting out of the way. So I dug my heels into Scar's flanks. We rode right into the middle of the herd. If I could split them in half, only part of them would tear loose, even in a stampede. Rife was in front of the herd now. The lead steer turned off. A couple of more shots, and the rest of them followed. There we are. I knew there wasn't going to be any stampede. Not now, anyway. Rife had stopped him just in time. It's nice going, Rife.
Somebody had to do it.
Yeah.
What happened to you?
Horse bolted. Almost threw me.
Yeah?
Guess you were scared.
The horse?
That's what I said.
Yeah. Well, here comes the rain.
It looks like this is the tail end of it, though. Probably would have been more in a shower.
We better keep moving anyhow. You take over up here, Britt. Norm will riding back with me.
Sure.
Your horse all right now?
I guess so.
Okay, let's go.
About half an hour later, the rain let up. It was nearly sundown, and a green-yellow rainbow arched up over the hills to the east, and Rife decided to make camp for the night. Neither of the McAdams brothers said much during supper, and afterwards Norm sort of moved off a couple of yards from the campfire and started playing his mouth organ.
What you staring at, Rife?
Huh?
You heard me.
I don't know what you mean.
You've been watching me ever since this afternoon when my horse bolted. You've been looking at me the way you used to look when I was a kid and done something you thought was wrong.
We almost had a stampede today, Norm.
Almost.
You was riding front, man. You was the one to stop it.
I suppose you've never been on a horse that ran away with you.
You was always able to handle that Palomino before.
Why do you have to keep nagging? I'm no cattleman. I didn't want to come on this drive in the first place.
It's our herd.
It's your herd. It was up to me would have sold the ranch years ago.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe we ought to sell out. We'll talk about it when we get back home.
Hold up a minute. Thought it was my turn to look after the cattle tonight.
It's been a pretty hard day. You're probably tired. I'll wait till...
I'm no more tired than you are.
Okay, Norm.
I'll be over on that hill over yonder.
Well, you're not serious, Rife, about selling out, are you?
There's something in what Norm says. He's no cattleman.
Well, maybe not, but you are.
I can always get work somewhere. Carrie'd probably be happier in town anyway.
Carrie?
My wife.
Oh, well, I didn't know you were married, right?
Yep, last winter. She's staying with her folks in Bradley while we take the cattle north.
Is that so?
Carrie's a fine girl, Britt, younger than I am, about Norm's age. Young and pretty. You'll like her, everybody does. Yeah, even Norm. First time in our life him and me have ever agreed on anything or anybody.
Well,
She told me not to take him with us on this drive, said he'd never make it. I should have listened to her.
now, he's pretty young, Rife. This is his first cattle drive. For all we know, his horse maybe did run away with him, you know.
Norm did the running, not his horse. He's no good, Britt. I guess it's my fault. I guess I brung him up wrong, but he's no good.
You're not his father. You're not to blame for how he turned out.
I'm the only father he ever had. Our old man died when Norm was just a baby, and Ma just lasted a couple of years after that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was 13, practically full-grown when she passed on, but Norm was only 4. She made me promise I'd look after him, see that he got his schooling and a chance to mount to something. Yeah. Fire's almost up.
Oh, here, I'll fix it.
I sent him to school, bought him books, but he wouldn't stick it out. It was too much like work. That's his real trouble, Britt. He's lazy, he's selfish. Expects everything to be handed to him all tied up in a fancy ribbon. Like this afternoon, he wasn't afraid of the cattle. He just couldn't be bothered stopping them. He didn't care that much.
Well, maybe he's had it too easy, Rife. Maybe if the chips are down, he'd surprise you.
Maybe. Well, I'm not making the same mistake again. Not with my own kid.
With your own? What?
Yeah. Carrie's expected. He might be here by now, for all I know.
Well, congratulations, Rife.
Thank you. I'll buy you a cigar and have...
Yeah, all right. Oh, well, that's fine. I guess maybe it's time to turn in, I think.
I ain't very sleepy. I think I'll go up and, well, see if Norm's all right. Oh, doggone it. Brady is my kid brother.
Sure. I know, right? Sure.
Good night.
Good night. I banked the fire for the night and spread out my bedroll. The moon came up, full moon, kind of a moon you ought to have after a rain. I stretched out flat. Well, except for a couple of rocks right in the small of my back. Well, I felt about as comfortable as a man has a right to feel. Right?
No, it's me.
Oh. I thought you were looking after the herd.
Rife come nosing around. Guess you don't trust me. So if he wants to stay up all night, that's his business.
Sorry.
Yeah, we got nothing but heroes on this drive.
How do you figure that?
Well, you're the six-shooter, ain't you? Supposed to be the fastest man with a gun west of Kansas City. East of there, too, from the way folks tell it.
No, you shouldn't believe everything you hear, Norm.
I don't. I don't believe you're any faster with a gun than the next man.
Probably not.
I don't believe you're any faster than me. See that white rock over there? Well?
You're good.
Go ahead. It's your turn.
Well, I'm afraid I'm sort of out of practice of shooting at rocks. I used to do it, but I haven't tried it recently.
What do you mean by that? I'm still a kid?
I didn't mean anything. You're a good shot. Now, good night.
Maybe you think it was an accident I hit it. I hit it. I can do it again. There. See that?
Good night.
Oh.
Ground was kind of damp and cold all night, but it didn't keep me from sleeping. And when I finally woke up, the sun was just starting to shove the sky away from over my head. A couple of seconds, I couldn't quite decide whether to open my eyes or not, but the smell of coffee made me make up my mind. Oh! Morning.
Morning. Want some Java?
Yeah, thanks. Where's Norm?
Taking a bath?
Taking a bath?
Yeah. Found a water hole the other side of the hill.
Oh.
He'll be back any minute. Trust Norm to keep himself duded up. Wouldn't surprise me if he showed up wearing a clean shirt.
Yeah. Well, you can't blame a fellow for... Yeah, what's this? Oh, that looks like a letter. Oh, here, it's yours.
Mine?
Well, it says Love, Carrie. Isn't that your wife's name, Carrie?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, here.
Read it to me, Britt.
What?
Out loud. Read me what it says.
Well, I'm not interested in somebody else's mail, Life. I especially love letters.
Is that what it is?
Well, you ought to know. It's yours, isn't it?
No, Britt, it ain't. Carrie ain't never written me. She knows I can't read. It's Norm that had the schooling. Remember, Britt, I told you last night.
Yeah, I remember.
Read me what it says. Go on, Britt, read it.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in a moment. First, a word from Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment.
You'll be glad this winter you bought a Coleman heater this fall. Yes, as you sit back in your easy chair, snug and comfortable, you'll be glad you bought a Coleman heater. You'll enjoy floor-to-ceiling warmth in those rooms you could never heat before.
Get your Coleman oil or gas heater now during Coleman's big bonus sale. Here's what you get.
First bonus, a new low price.
Yes, now you can get a dependable Coleman automatic heater at a new low price.
Second bonus, a new low operating cost.
Coleman saves you up to 25% on heating bills because Coleman gives you maximum heat from your fuel.
Third bonus, a 32-piece set of Libby's Safe Edge glassware worth $14. It's free with your new Coleman heater.
Get 3 big bonuses. Get your Coleman oil or gas heater now during Coleman's big bonus sale. This sale is for a limited time only.
So see your Coleman dealer tomorrow. You'll find his name and address in your telephone directory.
Now, Act Two of The Six Shooter, starring Jane Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
The sun was warming the back of my neck as I stood there facing Rife, holding that piece of lavender paper in my hand. I looked down at the letter and then up at Rife again. He was just standing there, waiting, not moving. Not any part of him moving except the vein in his throat that jumped out a little throbs.
I'm waiting, Britt.
Now, it's not my letter, Rife, and I guess it isn't yours.
It concerns me, don't it? It's from Carrie. It's from my wife.
Well, that's between you and her.
I want to know what it says, what she's been writing to Norm about.
Go ahead, Britt. Read it to him. Or maybe you'd rather I told you what it says, Rife. It says, Carrie loves me. That she'll always love me, and it goes into detail.
You rotten little... Well, then we are, Rife. You think that gun will stop me? I'll break your neck.
You're walking right into it, Rife.
Now, put it away, Norm. You wanted a sample of my shooting last night. You put that gun away and you'll get it.
What am I supposed to do? Take you both on?
This isn't my argument. It'll take 3 of us to get that herd to Abilene. I just want to be sure there'll be 3 of us to do it.
There ain't going to be 3, Britt. You've taken everything from me. All your life you've taken everything, but you're not taking Carrie.
All right, that's enough, right? Come on now. I meant what I said about finishing that drive. 2 men may not make it, and I'm going to be sure I'm not going to lose that money you promised me. Now, come on. Now, straighten up here. What's the matter with you? You both able to ride now?
Yeah.
All right. I'm able. Norm, what about you?
Sure.
All right, now, come on. Let's get started. I dumped out the coffee and covered up the fire while Norm got the horses. We saddled up and got the herd underway. Norm moved out to the front, and I stayed in the middle. Rife brought up the rear. I figured it'd be just as well if I stayed between them. I looked back a couple of times, and whenever I did, I saw Rife staring at Norm, watching every move he made. But he didn't say a word. All day long, he didn't say a word. And then at supper time, Rife, he sat off one side, just pecking at his food. I noticed there's nothing wrong with Norm's appetite, though.
Any more beans?
Yeah, it looks like you finished them up, Norm.
Oh?
You're kind of hungry tonight, huh?
Why not? Just a kid still doing my growing. At least that's what some people think.
Uh-huh. Well, as long as you're so full of energy, maybe you wouldn't mind looking after the cattle, huh?
Huh?
Well, you missed your turn last night, didn't you?
Say, you taking over this outfit, Ponce?
No. Just a suggestion.
I guess somebody's got to run things. Don't look like my brother's holding a very tight rein. See you in the morning.
Yeah. Come on, Rife. How about some shut-eye?
Okay.
Good night.
Night.
I waited till Rife dropped off, and I closed my eyes. I didn't sleep very long, though. About an hour later, something woke me up. At first, I thought it was a coyote. And then I saw Rife edging off through the brush. You going somewhere, Rife?
Huh?
Coyote woke you up, too, huh?
Yeah.
That gun ain't gonna do much good if you're figuring on killing it, Rife.
What do you mean?
It's empty, Rife.
You ain't got no right to interfere.
Oh? I'm just thinking about that 10% of the herd.
I'm gonna kill him, Britt. You can't stop me. Nobody can.
He's your brother.
No, he ain't. Not anymore. Would a brother do what he did to me? I ain't never had anything I could really call my own. If he wanted something, he took it. I never stopped him. But Carrie is my wife. She belongs to me, and this time I'm going to stop him.
Oh, hadn't you better wait and talk it over with her?
I waited too long already. Why do you think she didn't want Norm to go with us on this drive? It wasn't because she was afraid he'd never make it. She wanted him there, with her. And at a time like this, she's...
Easy now, Rife.
Probably want to take over the baby, too, when that comes along.
No, come on now. You've got to get some sleep now. You'll feel better in the morning. Come on.
No, I won't feel better in the morning, Britt. I won't feel no better until I'm even with him.
of us got much sleep that night, and by noontime the next day, that saddle of mine was a little harder than usual. I'd been sort of keeping my eye on Rife. He was still riding behind me. But the sun was getting hot, and I was kind of drowsy, so I just sort of jogged along for the next few miles, not paying much attention to anything or anybody. If Scar hadn't given me a jolt, easy, boy, easy now. I wouldn't have looked around, and I wouldn't have seen that we were coming into a gorge. It was very narrow, barely wide enough for the herd, and the rock walls jutted up at a sharp angle, too steep for a horse to climb. By the time I got my bearings, it was too late. This was just the kind of a place Rife was looking for. I couldn't see him now, but I knew he was doing the firing, and I knew why. He was trying to stampede the cattle. And there in the gorge, Norm wouldn't be able to get out of the way. There was no chance of getting back to stop Rife. All I could do was just jam right into the middle of the herd. Come on, boy. Now, come on. Come on. Come on. Scar fought his way past a couple of steers. I tried to keep them under control, but the ones from the rear started pressing forward in earnest, and there just wasn't no holding the rest of them. And we was right in it now, a real stampede. This was Rife's way of killing his brother, and I wasn't so sure I was going to fare any better than Norm. A couple of the cows shoved against us, almost toppled us over. Scar was pretty certain to lose his footing before we could get much further, and I jerked out my gun. I cleared us a little path, but the cattle plugged up before we get through. All of my shooting was just making things worse. There was nothing to do now but just give Scar's hit. Let him run with it. I hadn't had time to worry about Norm. I didn't know what had happened to him. I didn't even think about him until it... Hey, that wasn't Rife firing. That wasn't Rife firing. That was from up ahead. Well, the herd was half crazy now. They'd been shot at from all directions. They didn't know where to turn now. I rose up in my stirrups and looked forward. Norm was holding his ground at the mouth of the gorge. He could have gotten away, all right, but he was holding his ground. I hadn't lifted myself up. Maybe I'd have been able to hang on when the cattle twisted around and started changing direction. As it was, Scar held his ground, flattened out behind a rock. That was the only thing that saved my neck. I rolled under him. The cattle, as they swung around, started heading back to the water. In a couple of minutes, I was in the clear. The cattle passed me by. I pulled myself up to my feet, and I looked around. The herd was still out of control. They're charging out the other end of the gorge, and then I got a flash of Rife. Norm must have heard it too.
Rife!
Norm came pounding past me, firing at all the way like a crazy man, trying to get through to his brother.
Where are you, Rife?
The herd had moved on almost out of sight now before I saw Rife again. He was lying on the ground in a smear of sticky red dust, and Norm was there bending over him when I got up to him.
You all right, Rife?
I started him, Norm. I figured you'd try to get out of the way, but you didn't run. You stopped him. He stopped him, didn't he, Britt?
Yeah.
I didn't mean for him to turn on you, Rife. I swear I didn't.
I know that. I saw you trying to get through to me. Why did you want to help me, Norm? I started them so they'd kill you. Why did you want to help me?
You're my brother. You're all I've got, all I've ever had.
You hear that, Britt? You don't hate me.
Rife, listen. About Carrie. About that letter.
It's all right, Norm. I don't blame you. I don't blame Carrie.
But she loves you, Rife. That letter was written a long time ago, before you and her were married, before she even knew you.
A long time ago?
Yeah, I've carried it with me ever since. I was in love with her, but she wasn't in love with me, not ever. And when you come along, she realized that she's never had anything to do with me since. I only kept the letter so that I could show it to you, and you got to riding me the way you did yesterday.
You you're telling the truth.
You know I am, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I guess I do.
Sure.
I guess I've known it all along. When Carrie told me about us having a baby, I was so happy and proud it almost spilled over. I guess a man couldn't feel that way if he wasn't sure of his wife.
Take it easy. Take it easy, Rice. Now, don't try talking too much.
What's the matter with you, Britt? You think them cattle finished?
No, of course not.
You said it'd take all three of us to get to Abilene. That's the way it's going to be. All three of us.
Sure.
You and Norm and me. Maybe a while before I can get on my legs, but you just give me a couple of hours rest while you're rounding up the herd. A couple of hours and I'll be around to...
Life. He's dead, Norm.
But it can't be. He was feeling better. You heard him.
Well, a man don't always know when he's dying, Norm. Sometimes a man's lucky.
Britt,
Yeah.
It's only kids that cry, ain't it? I guess this makes me a kid.
Oh, I wouldn't say that, Norm. I'd say you've done a lot of growing up today. We buried Rice there at the mouth of the gorge and went off to round up the cattle again. We managed to find most of them, and about a week later we hit Abilene. All during that week, I kept wanting to ask Norm about that letter from Carrie, if it was true what he told Rice, if it really had been written a couple of years ago. But somehow, I don't know, the subject never came up. Leastwise, I never found a good time for bringing it up. Besides, it really wasn't any of my business.
Beginning tomorrow night, Fibber McGee and Molly return to the air in a new series of programs. Yes, beginning tomorrow night, you'll hear those wonderful folks from 79 Wistful Vista, Fibber McGee and Molly, every night, Monday through Friday on NBC. As a matter of fact, this is the week that will see 28 new programs beginning on the NBC Radio Network. And you'll find that an evening with NBC Radio is an evening sure to entertain. So make a date to keep your dial set where you hear the familiar NBC chimes. Your invitation to the best in radio programming. Coleman, America's leader in modern automatic home heating equipment, and the National Broadcasting Company have presented James Stewart as the Six-Shooter. Mr. Stewart may currently be seen in the Universal International picture Thunder Bay. Others in the cast were Lou Merrill and James McCallion. The Six-Shooter is an NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions and is based on a character created by Frank Burt, and today's transcribed story was written by him. Special music was by Basil Adlam, and the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. This is Hal Gibney speaking. Listen to Last Man Out, one of the Magic 28, next on the NBC Radio Network.
Gunsmoke. Brought to you by L&M, the modern cigarette that lets you get full, exciting flavor through the modern miracle of the pure white miracle tip. Live modern. Smoke L&M. Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of Gunsmoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad. The transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America, and the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful and a little lonely.
We kindly cooled up after all that hot weather, didn't it, Mr. Dillon?
Uh-huh.
It sure turned out to be a pretty nice day.
Yeah. Kind of makes a man lazy, though, doesn't it?
Hey, look at that little old dog out in the street there. He sure is playful, ain't he?
Oh, yeah. If he had any sense, he'd go lie down in the shade somewhere.
Well, he's just a pup.
Uh-huh.
Oh, now he better leave them horses be. He's gonna get kicked.
Well, he's got to learn sometime.
Go on. Go on, Scat. Go on, get away from here, you mutt.
He's gonna make that fellow mad.
Go on. Oh, I'll fix you.
Hey. Why, he shot him. Well, what a mean, miserable thing to do. That little old pup wasn't hurting nothing.
No, he sure wasn't.
Hey, that's the marshal.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want?
Get on off those horses.
What?
Do it! Right now.
All right. Now, what's your trouble, Marshal?
I'll take your gun, mister.
No, you won't.
I'm not even going to argue with you. Then I'll make a move. Here, Chester, hold it.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'll take yours, too.
Sure, Marshal. I ain't gonna try nothing. Hold up now. What's this all about, anyway?
What's your name, mister?
Walt Gorman.
Mm-hmm. And what's yours?
Hakes. Jod Hakes.
All right. I don't allow shooting and dodge.
Well, ain't no reason to take our guns.
I ought to bend them across your heads. Come on, Chester.
Hey, wait a minute. When do we get them guns back?
Tomorrow noon when you leave town.
But we ain't figuring on leaving. Oh, never mind him, Hakes. He can't run us out.
By golly, you are too, Mr. Dillon.
I will, Chester.
Look at that poor little dog. I wonder whose tis.
I don't know. Probably belongs to some kid around here.
I'll carry it round back to jail. Maybe the kid will want to bury it himself.
Yeah, why don't you do that?
That Gorman sure is a mean one.
Well, I can get mean, too, Chester. And I got a feeling I may have to before I'm through with him.
Why don't you live modern? Live modern. Live modern. Change to L&M.
Only with L&M can you enjoy the full, exciting flavor of today's finest tobaccos through the modern miracle of the L&M Miracle Tip. Through the pure white Miracle Tip, L&M tastes richer, smokes cleaner, draws easier. No other cigarette, plain or filter, gives you all the flavor you want. The rich, exciting flavor you get only from L&M. So light up, free up, let your taste come alive. Live modern. Smoke L&M.
Make today your big red letter day and start to live the modern way. Live modern. Get L&M today.
Hey, Mr. Dillon, guess what?
No, what, Chester?
You know who that little raggedy dog belonged to? There wasn't no kid at all. It was an old fella called Pony Thompson.
Pony Thompson?
Yes, sir. He come in here a while ago. He heard we had him. He's out back now burying him.
I never heard of Pony Thompson.
Neither had I. He's a real nice old fellow, though. Oh, kindly funny looking. He looks at you from under them scraggly eyebrows like an old gray wolf, but that's him. You'll see.
Hello, Mr. Thompson.
No, I ain't no Mr. Pony's good enough.
This is Marshal Dillon.
How do, Marshal?
I'm sorry about your dog.
Well, I shouldn't have brung him. Town's bad enough for humans.
Where you from, Pony? I haven't seen you in Dodge before.
I don't seek out no town but once a year. I move around on the prairie, Marshal. Sometimes I go into the mountains. I just can't stand four walls and a roof. It's like being in jail.
What are you doing here now?
Once a year, I get drunk.
What?
That's why I come to town to do it. I figure if I got to get drunk, I got to be cooped up in some saloon. But, just walking down your street there, I feel kind of hog-tied.
Oh, my goodness.
Hey, Marshal.
Yeah, Pony.
Who shot my dog?
A couple of men who just rode into town.
I'll have to know their names.
Why, you want them to pay you for the dog, Pony?
No, 'tain't money I'm after.
I didn't think so.
I got a heavy old rifle down at the stable with my gatherings. I figured to go kind of beat 'em half to death with it.
Yeah, that wouldn't help you, Pony.
You ain't gonna tell me their names?
No, Pony, I'm not.
Well,
Where you going?
I can't get drunk unless I start drinking, can I?
No.
I'll find out who shot my dog. Don't you worry.
Your friend Pony Thompson's doing pretty well at the bar over there, Matt. That's his second bottle he's working on.
He sure keeps to himself, doesn't he?
A man who drinks alone is usually peaceful anyway.
Yeah.
Now, hurry it up, bartender. We ain't got all night.
Now, who's that pair? Just came in.
Oh.
Well, you know him, Matt?
Yeah. One of them's the man who shot Pony's dog I was telling you about.
Oh. Well, he looks like the kind...
Kitty?
Oh, no, what Sam wants.
Hey, Kitty.
I better go see you. I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure, Kitty.
Hey, look at this one, Hicks. She's pretty.
Yeah.
Hey, girlie, buy you a drink.
No, thanks. Oh, what'd you want, Sam?
Never mind about him. Come on, have a drink.
I said no.
I said yes. Come on, girlie, loosen up now.
Tell me something, mister. Do you have to be awful brave to shoot puppy dogs?
What?
Must take a real man to do that, huh?
I just ought to slap your face in for you.
I wouldn't try that, Gorman.
It's a marshal. Now what?
You get out of here. And you take Hicks with you.
You sure like having your own way in this here town, don't you?
I sure do. Now, you get moving.
Come on, Gorman. We don't want no trouble.
Shut up.
All right. I sure am getting a belly full of that.
What a hero.
Yeah. But you know, Kitty, I wish you hadn't mentioned the dog.
Oh, I'm sorry, Matt. I forgot.
Hey, evening, Marshal.
Hello, Pony.
So, that feller's name was Gorman, huh? He's got a mean face, too, ain't he?
Now, look here, Pony.
Oh,
Don't go...
don't you worry. I ain't gonna follow him, Marshal. No sirree, Bob. I got me this here bottle to finish. Yeah, I'm going to get drunk tonight, remember?
Well, I guess it doesn't matter after all, Matt, huh?
Hell, I hope not, Kitty. But I'm not so sure.
Oh, my. Side meat, fried potatoes, Harmony grits and sorghum, and a cup of lye. Matt, there was a mighty poor breakfast, if I do say so.
Well, then I'm glad I didn't treat you to it, Doc.
Oh, look who's in it. If you ever treated me to breakfast, I'd be so dumbfounded I couldn't complain.
Dillon! Mr. Dillon!
What?
Oh, it's Chester. At the stable door there.
You too, Doc. Hurry up!
Me? What's he got, a sick horse in there?
Now, he's got something, Doc. He looks pretty worried.
Oh, Chester's always worried. If it isn't money, it's women.
Ma Strinnick went to the office looking for you.
Now, what's the trouble, Chester?
There's been a killing.
What?
That fellow Walt Gorman, he got his throat cut in here. Moss found him laying in one of the stalls. Pony Thompson done it.
How do you know?
Well, he was right in there with him. He still is. We tied him up with a rope. Of course, he was passed out drunk when Moss found him, but he come to fast enough when we sluiced some water on him.
How could he kill a man when he was passed out?
I don't know, Doc, but he was all spattered with blood, and the knife was laying there right there by his hand. There he is.
Oh, Marshal, make him turn me loose.
That's Gorman under the saddle blanket back there.
All right, I'll take a look, but I don't know how much good you do.
Oh, please get me loose, Marshal. Please, I just can't stand this.
All right, on time, Chester.
All right, sir.
I didn't kill nobody.
The knife's in that board right next to you, Mr. Dillon.
Oh. Pony, is this your knife?
Yeah, sure, it's mine, but I didn't use it on nobody.
It was laying right by his hand.
Well, then somebody put it there.
Gorman's dead, all right, Matt. 4 or 5 hours. He took a knife in his back and then had his throat cut.
There, yeah. Well, I wouldn't do a thing like that, Marshal.
I wouldn't have thought so, Pony.
It's true. Oh, sure, I found him later after you left the Long Branch, but well, I only swore at him a little for shooting my poor pup.
I'm going to have to lock you up,
Oh,
Pony.
no, please, Marshal, don't do that. Please, don't.
I got no choice.
I tell you, I'd just go crazy. You put me in jail. I told you how I am.
Chester, take him down.
Come on, Pony, let's get going.
Oh, please don't. Not jail,
You
please.
should have thought about that before you killed Gorman. Now, come on.
I'd rather get shot. I'd rather die.
You ain't gonna die. Now walk along.
Hello, Marshal. I've been waiting for you.
Hello, Hicks.
I seen Chester a while ago taking Pony Thompson into the jail here.
Can he tell you what happened?
He sure did. I didn't want to see Gorman. Not after what that old man did to him.
Come on into the office, Hicks.
Mr. Dillon.
Chester? What's the matter? What's the matter? You sick or something?
He hit me.
What? Oh. Where's Pony Thompson?
That's what I'm telling you. He hit me with that stool in there.
You mean he got away?
I turned my back to go out of that cell. That's all I remember.
And he's been gone about 20 minutes.
Well, let's find him. Standing around here is doing no good.
We'll find him, Hicks.
Oh, but I know where he went.
You do? Where?
Well, in the stable there, he was mumbling about a hideout he knows down by the Arkansas somewheres.
You feel up to riding, Chester?
You bet I do.
And I'm coming, too. I'll shoot that old devil on sight.
It's a good thing I took your gun, Hicks. But you're coming with us, all right, just to make sure you don't find another one.
Why don't you live modern? Live
Yes, have an L&M. Enjoy a really modern cigarette. A cigarette that gives you all the full, exciting flavor of today's finest tobaccos. No other cigarette, plain or filter, gives you the flavor you get through the modern miracle of the L&M Miracle Tip. Through the pure white Miracle Tip, L&M tastes richer, smokes cleaner, draws easier. So light up, free up, let your taste come alive. Live modern, smoke L&M.
Make today your big red letter day and start to live the modern way. Live, live, live modern. Get L&M today.
Breaking day, Mr. Dillon. We can get moving again directly.
He could be 30 miles from here by now.
Well, you can't track a man in the dark, Hakes. We done the best we could. Blackest night I ever seen.
Marshal, I want you to give me a gun today.
You're awful anxious to shoot him down, aren't you, Hicks?
It's to keep him from shooting me. He's probably armed by now.
Oh, sure he is. There's lots of guns laying along the banks of the Arkansas. I'm cold. I'm going to walk around a little and stretch my legs.
Don't you get lost, Sonny.
Oh, why don't you try keeping quiet? Your voice itches my ears.
Hicks, tell me something. How long were you and Gorman partners?
About a year. Why?
Yeah, I just wondered.
You gonna let me have a gun today?
I wouldn't trust you with a buggy.
Now, you got no cause to say that.
I want Pony Thompson alive. He'd be no good to me dead.
What do you mean?
Well, I didn't get a chance to talk to him, for one thing.
Hey, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, what?
There's a little old cave right up here.
Go crawl in it. Maybe it'll fall on you. He sure bothers me.
You kind of bother him.
I ain't done nothing to him.
Mr. Dillon, come here, quick.
What? Yeah, what is it, Chester?
There's a man in this cave.
Ah.
It's old Pony Thompson.
Well, drag him out.
I did. He's dead, Mr. Dillon.
Huh? He's dead?
Yes, sir.
Make a torch out of some of those dry weeds, Chester. I can't see much here.
Yes, sir.
What is it, Marshal? Somebody kill him?
I don't know, Hicks. Just stay out of the way.
Doggone it, you treat me like I was dirt. I've had enough of that.
Come on, Chester, hurry up.
Yes, sir, I got it. Here, let me get lit.
I don't feel blood anywhere.
Yeah. Ain't gonna burn long, though.
Hold it near his head.
I don't see nothing.
No, wait a minute. Hold it closer.
Huh?
Now, down here.
There ain't a mark on him.
Yes, there is.
Hmm?
See those two little punctures on his neck there?
Yes, sir.
All right, Chester. Well, I guess Pony meant what he said about not liking jail.
What do you mean?
We've been sitting right down there in front of his cave for about 8 hours now. He could have hollered for help, but he didn't.
Help for what?
There was a rattlesnake in that cave.
That's what them marks on his neck was. He got bit.
Rather than face jail, he stayed in there and died.
Don't get to feeling so sorry for him. He stuck Gorman in the back and cut his throat, didn't he?
Yeah, Hicks. That's exactly what happened to Gorman.
What are you looking at me like that for?
Chester.
Yes, sir?
Did you tell Hicks that Gorman got knifed in the back?
No, sir. All I said was he got his throat cut.
And poor old Pony Thompson died for nothing. I don't know why you killed your partner, and I don't much care, but we'll find out. After we get Pony buried proper.
Now, look here, Marshal.
And you'll dig the grave, Hicks. And you'll dig it deep. The old man deserves that much from you.
In a moment, our star, William Conrad. In a recent study, a noted traffic expert estimates that inadequate highways and resultant traffic jams cost the American economy billions of dollars every year, and suggests that the cost of modernizing our roads would quickly be regained in time saved. Discussing motor accidents, this same expert suggests that legislation may be needed to curb the speed of our powerful automobiles before they ever leave the factories. This is a controversial question on which the experts disagree. But all traffic experts agree on one thing. Common sense cannot be legislated into the automobile driver. He has to learn it by himself. Anger, bravado, and the spirit of competition often are expressed on the highway by excessive speeding, disregard of traffic signs and signals, and other risky maneuvers. Psychologists sum it up by saying that careless drivers are emotionally immature. Put more bluntly, it means that careless driving is kid stuff. This has been a CBS Radio public service announcement.
You know, when a High Plains woman was looking for a husband, cowhands used to laugh and say, she's throwing a wide loop. Well, next week a woman catches her man right enough, but with a .50 caliber rifle. And that was the West.
Gunsmoke. Produced and directed by Norman McDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Our story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Featured in the cast were Joseph Kearns, Vic Perrin, and Lawrence Dobkin. Harley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty. Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on Gunsmoke.
In just a moment, you'll hear James Stewart as the six-shooter, just one of the many fine programs brought to you Sundays on NBC. Later this evening, listen to the NBC Star Playhouse with two of your favorite stars. Hear Stroke of Fate and the story of what might have happened if fate had reversed historical facts. And be sure to keep tuned for the dramatic story of The Last Man Out. It's a wonderful lineup of great programs, all of them heard only on NBC. James Stewart as the six-shooter. The man in the saddle is angular and long-legged. His skin is sun-dyed brown. The gun in his holster is gray steel and rainbow mother-of-pearl, its handle unmarked. People call them both the six-shooter. The NBC Radio Network presents James Stewart as The Six-Shooter, a transcribed series of radio dramas based on the life of Britt Ponsett, the Texas plainsman who wandered through the Western Territories, leaving behind a trail of still-remembered legends.
How's that, Alf? Short enough for you? I asked you if it was short enough for you.
Well, give me the mirror so I can take a look.
There you are. Well?
Don't look to me like you cut it at all.
Oh, now, Alf.
It's still there, ain't it? Hanging down the back of my neck.
Well, I figured you'd want to be in style. Fellows in just the other day come from Kansas City. Said that's the way all the Easterners are having a haircut.
Well, I ain't no Easterner, and I don't aim to be spending a quarter every week for a shave and a haircut, so start slicing it off.
Okay. You need to get your head up.
Oh, sorry, Breezy. I reckon I ain't feeling up to snuff today.
Can't say as I blame you. I heard about the town meeting last night.
Yeah.
You, told him yet?
I don't see why everybody's in such a rush all of a sudden. They waited 40 years. A couple more hours ain't gonna make no difference.
You're, gonna do it today then, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna do it today.
Poor old Gabe. Wonder how he'll take it. I'm sure glad it ain't me that has to break the news.
Stop talking about it, Breezy, and finish my hair.
Well, Gabe's a sensible man. He's not gonna hold it again you, Alf. Seeing as how the whole town's agreed.
Well, the whole town don't know him like I do. I was here when he first come to Yellowcrest. I don't know if it wasn't for Gabe Starbuck, there wouldn't be
Howdy, mister. Oh, you're next. It'll be a couple of minutes. Dodge City papers there if you'd like to read it while you're waiting.
Thank you. Thanks.
Britt!
Now, you sit still.
Britt Ponzit!
Huh?
Don't you remember me, Britt?
Why,
Alf Crandall?
Alf? Alf Crandall? Oh, sure, I remember you. Well, what happened to your beard?
Breezy here shaved it off 3 years ago.
Oh, he did?
Yeah. A couple of the boys paid him to do it while I was asleep in the chair.
Is that so?
I ain't never forgiven you for that, Breezy.
You could have growed it back, Alf.
Well, it wouldn't have been the same. Took me 25 years to get that stand of whiskers. Besides, once Maddie seen me without them, folks do say I look younger.
Well, you look so young, I hardly recognize you.
Well, what about you, Britt? How's the world been treating you?
Oh, first rate.
Just hit town.
Yeah. I've been out on the Square Moon Ranch last month or so. I ran into a flock of sheep yesterday, and they gave me such a brotherly look, I decided it's high time I get a haircut.
Be right pleased to take care of you, Mr. Ponset. There. That ought to be short enough, Alf.
Well, feels like you got some of it off anyhow.
Just let me give you a little brush. All right, there you go. Oh, thanks. Sit right down, Mr. Ponset. Well, what'll it be? Shave and a haircut?
This haircut will do it.
Well, you might as well have a shave, too, as long as you're here. I got the kettle on. The towels will be real hot. Why, you won't even feel the razor.
No, I don't think
No matter how good a man is at shaving himself, it's not the same as having a barber do it.
Oh,
now, you take having a horse shod. You don't do that yourself unless it's an emergency. You go to an expert. Well, sir, it seems to me a man's face ought to be as important as his horse.
Yes, but
it seems to me that when a fellow wants to get a...
All right, Brady. You can give me a shave, too.
Yes, sir, Mr. Ponce. Yes, sir. I'll just trim some of this hair off while the water's warming up.
You gonna be around town for a spell, Britt?
Just overnight, Alf. I'm due back to Square Moon tomorrow.
Well, I'd sure like to stay and chew the fat, but I'm due over to Gabe Starbuck's office.
Oh, say, how is he? Gabe. Gee, I hadn't seen hide or tail of him. Must be over 4 years.
Oh, that's right. You and him used to be real good friends, didn't you?
Oh, we sure did. It was Gabe Starbuck gave me my first pony.
Well, as a matter of fact, he's aging, Brett. He's aging fast.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. He's not down sick, is he?
No, Gabe wouldn't let himself get down no matter how he felt.
What's he up to nowadays?
Same as ever.
Well, you mean he's still sheriff?
Yeah, he's still sheriff. At least he is today.
Oh?
Truth is, we had a meeting just last night. Decided the town's got to have a new sheriff. And that's what I'm going over to talk to Gabe about now.
You don't want it too short, do you, Mr. Ponset? Fellow's in from Kansas City the other day. Says back there folks ain't cutting their hair so short anymore.
Well, you better trim it pretty close, Breezy. I may not be in a barbershop again for quite some time.
Whatever you say. Appears to me people around here don't want to be in style.
Nobody wants to get rid of old Gabe, Britt. But the town's changed. Well, we got near 700 people living here now.
That many?
Yeah, there's a new bank, too. Maybe you saw it.
Yes, I did, yes.
Not doing very good, though. Folks are afraid their money won't be safe. Oh, we haven't had any robberies, not for quite a spell. As long as Gabe's sheriff, well, There's not much he could do to stop an outlaw if one did happen to come our way. You know, old Gabe being so old and all.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Doggone it, Britt. We all realize that we owe him an awful lot. He cleaned up Yellowcrest. Made it possible for decent people to live here. Of course, that was 40 years ago. Things are a lot different now. We gotta have us a new sheriff, that's all.
Mm-hmm. Does Gabe know you're planning on replacing him?
No, he ain't told him yet, but can't put it off much longer.
I see. It's gonna hurt him pretty bad, isn't it?
Well, how would you feel if it was in your place? You give your life to a town, your whole life, and they say, we're sorry, but we gotta put you out to pasture. You're too old.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe if he was to have a deputy.
Well, we talked about that. Town ain't rich enough to afford 2 salaries.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gabe's got a good, sensible head on his shoulders.
That's what I said, Mr. Possett. That's just what I said.
He probably won't like the idea of losing his job, not at first, but he'll see that you don't have much choice in the thing.
Now, you just lean back. That's better. And be sure and tell me if this towel's too hot.
Ooh.
A little warm?
I guess I can stand it.
I'm real glad you don't think we're being too hard on Gabe, Britt. Say, that gives me an idea. Well, seeing as how you understand the predicament we're in, about Gabe, I mean, maybe you wouldn't mind sort of preparing him?
No, wait, just a minute, Alf.
Now, you're old friends. You said so yourself. It'll be different having the news come from you.
No, it's not my concern.
Here's another towel, Mr. Possett. Now, just lean back.
You're going to be seeing them anyway, Britt. Now, all you have to do is kind of lead the conversation around to him retiring, lay the foundation, and then later on, when everything's getting...
I won't do it, Al. I won't do it. Now, you're just wasting your breath. You just...
How in thunder am I going to get this lather on, Mr. Possett, if you keep moving around like that?
I'm only asking you to talk to Gabe because, well, I'm apt to say the wrong thing. You know me, Britt, always putting my foot in my mouth.
Yeah, now, hold still.
Now, Al, I tell you, you're not going to put... Ouch.
Your own fault, Mr. Possett. Now, I told you to keep quiet.
Please, he's right. Just sort of take it easy, Britt, while I sort of explain what I had in mind. And then if you still aren't willing...
Well, between the shaving and the hot towels and Al harping at me, well, not that I agreed to tell Gabe that Tom's getting a new sheriff. I didn't agree to that, mind you, but all I said was that I'd sort of feel him out, see how the land was lying. Anyway, about 20 minutes later, I was coming along the boardwalk heading for Gabe's office. Huh. Well, it sure sounded like shooting to me. When I looked around, nobody seemed to be paying any attention. What's that? The fellows arguing politics over the post office steps. They didn't even stop to take a breath. And the ladies in Johnson's Mercantile, they went right on measuring yardage like they hadn't even heard it. Well, I was pretty sure where it was coming from now. I was right behind the sheriff's office. I opened the front door. No sign of Gabe. No sign of anybody, for that matter. And then I saw him. Right through the back window. And I saw why folks hadn't been very upset about the gunfire. Gabe was having himself a little target practice out there, aiming at a tin can sitting on a pile of lumber. It had just been 4 years since I'd seen him last, but... he looked good 10 years older. Smaller, too. He kind of shrunk and bent over with thin yellow-gray hair and long, bony arms that didn't seem to have much meat on them. Yeah, he sure wasn't having much luck hitting that tin can, either. Hello, Gabe.
Who?
No, it's Brett Ponson.
I'll be doggone. Well, it's sure good to see you. For a second there, I didn't recognize you. The sun got my eyes. I blinded me, the sun.
Sure. How are you, Gabe?
Well, never better. Never felt better in my life.
Glad to hear
it. Well, I was just doing a little shooting.
Yeah, I saw you.
Oh, not that I need any practice, you understand, Britt.
But I was worried about one of my guns. I think it throws a little to the left.
I say.
Yeah, that's why I missed my last shot. I guess you saw me miss it.
Oh, well, a man can't hit anything if his gun's not working.
Yeah. Well, let's go inside where we can sit down and have us a talk.
Fine.
Yeah. Well, you're looking good, Brett. Real good.
Oh, well, a little older, maybe. But I guess that happens to all of us, doesn't it?
Oh, I don't know. Man's only as old as he feels.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Just take that chair, Britt, over there.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah. I'll sit by the window here, where I can keep an eye out on the street.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised to hear that you're still sheriff, Gabe.
Don't see why it should have surprised you.
Well, you must be getting along, Gabe.
Well, I'm 64, Britt. 64 last spring.
Now, Gabe.
Well, might be 65. The family never kept no records. But I ain't no older than that.
No.
Don't look no older.
No.
Do I?
Oh, no. No.
Huh.
You still living alone?
Well, of course I'm still living alone. You think I need a keeper or something?
Oh, no, I was just wondering if you ever got a hold of that ranch you used to talk about, that's all. You remember?
Ranch?
Yeah, don't you remember that? When I was a kid, you always said someday you're going to have a ranch. After you'd retired from being sheriff, of course.
Oh, I still aim to do it. When the time comes. Of course, there ain't no sense in thinking about it now.
Oh?
No. Yellowcrest is growing, Britt. Growing fast. That's when the town needs law and order the most. When it's busting its britches. And seeing as how I'm the only experienced lawman in these parts, well, it's my duty to stay on the job. I owe it to the folks here. Why, if I was even to think about retiring, well, they just wouldn't know what to do. They'd be plumb helpless. Well, I ain't got no choice, Britt. You know how it is.
Sure, Gabe. I know.
We'll return to James Stewart as the six-shooter in just a moment. The winter brings extra hazards to the motorist and the pedestrian. Longer hours of darkness, poor visibility caused by snow, rain, and fog, and slippery streets call for extra caution. The National Safety Council urges that for safety, every motorist should always adjust speed to road and weather conditions. Keep the windshield clear. Never slam on your brakes if the road is wet or slippery. Pump them slowly to slow down or stop. Use tire chains on snow and ice. And keep a safe distance between your car and the one ahead. Guard against that one accident that might take your life or ruin it. Now, Act 2 of The Six-Shooter, starring James Stewart as Britt Ponsett.
We had a long talk, Gabe and me, sitting there in the office watching the wagons creak along outside the window. I guess we about covered everything. Folks we'd known, old times. The only thing we didn't discuss was Gabe's retiring from sheriff. Anyhow, after I left him, I had supper and took a little stroll. Oh, it must have been about 9 o'clock when I got settled down for the night in my room in the Parker Hotel. The bed was real comfortable, a lot softer than those bunks out at Square Moon Ranch. Maybe that's why I had so much trouble dropping off to sleep. Yeah? Yeah, who is it?
Alf Crandall. You asleep, Britt?
Oh, no. Come on in, Al. Oh, come on in. I'll just get this lamp turned up. Here. There we are.
I didn't mean to wake you. Ned Parker told me you only turned in a few minutes ago.
Yeah, I'll pull up a chair.
Thanks. You know, I was looking for you this evening after supper.
Well, I went for a walk.
Oh?
You were right, Alf. Yellowcrest sure has changed. That's a fine new church going up there by the creek.
Yeah. Well, what I wanted to find out, Bit, was, Whether you talk
Lots
to
of new
Gabe
buildings over south, too. Mighty fancy houses. Some of them look like they're going to be 2 stories high
Brett.
over there. Yeah?
How'd he take it?
Why, how did he take what? Oh, you mean Gabe?
Well, who else would I mean? Well?
Well, I didn't tell him, Alf.
Huh?
I told you I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it.
I don't blame you, Brett. I shouldn't have asked you in the first place. It was my job.
I did kind of hint around once or twice, but I could see what it did to him. Just the idea of not being sheriff anymore. It's all he's got, Alf. He doesn't have a family and kids to worry about. Gabe's the sheriff of Yellowcrest, and if he ever stops being the sheriff, he won't be anything.
I know, Brett. I know, but what can we?
What's that?
The alarm bell. Must be a fire, I reckon. There's Mark Fawcett running down the street there. He'll know. Doggone this window. Stuck tighter. There. Mark! Mark, up here, Mark! What are they ringing the bell for?
Somebody robbed the bank.
The bank?
We're meeting over at the sheriff's office.
Well, I guess it was bound to happen sooner or later, Brett.
Yeah. Hand me my pants, will you? The bell was still ringing when Alf and I rode up to Gabe's office. Everybody in town must have heard of it by now. There were 10 or 12 men standing around the streets, others coming up from all directions. Gabe was standing right by his horse, right in the middle of things, taking charge. There wasn't much doubt about it. He was still sheriff of Yellowcrest.
Brett, you boys know Britt Ponce, don't you?
Yeah, what happened, Gabe?
Well, it was just an accident. I seen him. An accident, pure and simple. They was riding out of the alley from behind the bank, giving the horses a spur. Couldn't get a look at their faces, but the way they was riding, that made me suspicious.
Uh-huh.
So I thought maybe I ought to see if everything was all right at the bank. Went around to check. Back door was broke open, wide open. Papers scattered around inside. Jim Waterby's over there now trying to find out how much they took.
Didn't try to follow them, the outlaws.
Well, they was gone before I knew they was outlaws. Before I knew for certain, that is. But I seen which way they headed. East.
That don't make sense, Gabe. They'd have to cross the Salt Flats if they went east.
Sure they was. That's the way they went. Right toward the flats.
Well, you must have been seeing things. Man, to be a fool to strike out that way.
200 miles without a water hole.
Oh, I bet they turned off, went up in them hills.
Well, I'm the one who seen them, ain't I?
$2,500, Gabe. That's what they stole.
Oh, that's so, Jim.
Sack of gold and a sack of currency. 2,500 as close as I can figure it.
Well, boys, let's see if we can pick up the trail. Easy, Rusty, easy.
They'll determine to chase him out onto them flats.
Yeah, we want to catch him, don't we?
If we do, we got to use our heads, Gabe. Men smart enough to rob that bank ain't going to take a chance on dying out there in that salt. They'd go for the hills.
Mark is right, Gabe.
You tell me I can't believe my own eyes.
Well, it was pretty dark. Maybe you got confused. Maybe it looked like they was heading east.
Now, we're only wasting time arguing with him. Let's go.
I'm the sheriff of Yellowcrest. I'm running this posse, ain't I?
Gabe, we're riding toward the ridge.
All right. Come on, Rusty. Come on.
Gabe. Hey, Gabe.
You can't stop him, Brett. When he gets his mind set, nobody can stop him.
Guess this just proves we was right about Gabe. He ain't up to the job of being sheriff no more.
I guess you're right, sure.
Okay, boys, I'll lead the way.
Come on, this Brett.
No, you got enough man without me. Search yourself.
I watched them winding along toward the rise of the purple hills west of town. After a couple of minutes, the night swallowed them up, and the hoofbeats trickled off into silence. All right, Scar, come on. I turned Scar east. It wasn't like Gabe to be stubborn about something as important as a bank robbery. Oh, I'll grant you, it didn't seem very sensible for a couple of bandits to take off across the salt flats. And Gabe's eyesight wasn't what it had been once, of course, but I just couldn't believe he'd be dead wrong. Scar threw up his head when the smell of salt hit his nose. He sure didn't like the idea of walking out into it. Easy, boy, easy now. Easy now. We're not going very far. Come on. Come on now. Nothing but white as far as you could see. Stretched out taut like a cavalry blanket. white salt picking up the moonlight and bouncing along ahead of us. The funny thing, though, there was only one set of hoof prints out there on the flats. Well, about 10 minutes later, I spotted Gabe. Whoa, boy. Whoa. Whoa, boy. He wasn't riding very fast, so I slowed up. I figured it was just as well Gabe didn't see me. I didn't want him to think that I'd tagged along because I was worried about him, you know. And then the darndest thing happened. He swung his horse around and started backtracking. Here, boy. Come on. I eased Scar over behind a couple of gray boulders so we'd be out of sight, and Gabe came right toward us. At first, I thought he knew where we were. Then he turned his horse again and walked him out in the salt. For a couple of minutes, I couldn't figure out what he was up to. It seemed to me like he was just wandering around, no purpose at all. And then the next thing that happened was even stranger yet. Gabe jerked his gun out of his holster and he began firing. But he wasn't aiming at anything. As far as I could see, he was just shooting up into the sky. Yeah, he left off 2 or 3 more shots and then wheeled around and galloped past me on his way back to town. And I saw him reach in his saddlebags and bring out a couple of cloth sacks and hook them over his saddle horn. They were the kind of sacks banks used for carrying money. Well, there just wasn't any doubt about it now. The story of that bank robbery was something Gabe had made up out of whole cloth. Oh, somebody had broken into the bank, all right. Well, it wasn't an outlaw, though. It was Gabe. Well, I waited maybe 15 minutes. Then I heard the alarm bell start off again. The posse was pulled up in front of Gabe's office. Bell must have brought him out of the hills. Gabe was handing the cloth sacks to Jim Waterby. I pulled up just in time to hear the tail end of what he was saying.
I ain't sure I hit him, you understand. This gun of mine's been thrown a bit to the left lately. But when I started shooting, they dropped these here bags and went galloping off. By the time I stopped to pick up the money, I reckon that's what's in them, well, them outlaws was just plumb out of sight. Yes, sir. I figured there wasn't much need of chasing them no further. Like as not, they'll never make it across the salt anyway.
Now, you did right, Gabe.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's all here. Every cent.
Hey, Britt, you hear what happened? Gabe caught up with the bandits, shot it out with them, and brung back what they stole.
Did he?
That don't seem possible. Them having a head start and all.
Well, you know Rusty when I give him his head.
Well, maybe the bandits was lost. Maybe they didn't know about them flats.
Yeah, I reckon they didn't. I reckon that's it.
If they knew where the bank was, they'd know about that salt.
Yeah, that's right.
What are you getting at, Mark?
I don't know. There's something funny about this. There's 2 of them, you said, huh?
Yeah, that's right.
2 of them against you?
Well, what's so funny about that? Many's the time I shot it out with more than 2 men.
Let's ride out there, boys, and have a look around.
Well, whatever you say, Mark.
Sure.
Hold on a minute. I think maybe I can save you a trip.
Huh?
The fact is, I was following Gabe. I followed him right out on the flats.
What?
Oh, I know you didn't see me, Gabe. I was behind you, but I could see you just plain as day.
Now, Britt, you got to let me...
You mean you seen the gunfight, too?
Listen to me, Britt. Listen to me.
Was he telling the truth, Britt?
Yeah, that's right, was he?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I never saw a fight like that before, not in my whole life.
Great.
What about the bandits, Britt? You get a chance to recognize them?
No, I'm afraid I didn't.
Didn't stick around, eh? Once Gabe started shooting?
No, Well, as a matter of fact, when Gabe was through shooting, well, it was like they hadn't even been there.
No.
I'll be darned.
Mm-hmm. That's what it was, all right. Just like they hadn't been there at all. I don't know how Gabe had found out that the town was talking about having a new sheriff. I guess he sort of sensed it, the way folks have been acting. Of course, after this hold-up, well, they figured out maybe they could afford giving him a deputy. Jim Waterby, that's the banker. He put up part of the money, and then they didn't have much trouble raising the rest. I had a little talk with Gabe just before I left town. We didn't mention that night out on the flats, neither one of us. But he did give me his word that the next time there's any trouble, well, he'd let his deputy do a good share of the taking care of it. But the way things worked out, though, there haven't been any more robberies in Yellow Crest. Not one single solitary robbery. They say it's because of Sheriff Gabe. Outlaws just don't want to tangle with him. They all must have heard about what happened that time a couple of them tried to hold up the Yellow Crest Bank.
I wonder if you really know how much good you're doing every time you buy Christmas seals. Well, let me tell you something. Something I think will amaze you. It's simply this. Over 6 million lives have been saved in the fight against tuberculosis since the first Christmas seal was sold. In other words, what you actually buy when you buy Christmas seals is priceless protection for yourself, your family, and your community. So, please answer your Christmas seal letter today. The Six Shooter is an NBC Radio Network production in association with Review Productions. It is based on a character created by Frank Burt, and the transcribed story is written by him. Mr. Stewart may currently be seen in the Universal International picture, The Glenn Miller Story. Others in the cast were Herb Vigran, John Stevenson, Lamont Johnson, Dal McKinnon, and Old Gabe was played by Bill Johnstone. Special music for this program was by Basil Adlam, and the entire production is under the direction of Jack Johnstone. All characters and incidents were fictitious, and any resemblance to actual characters or incidents is purely coincidental. And now, from all of us who each week bring you the Six Shooter, a special salute to NBC-affiliated station WGBF, Evansville, Indiana, on the occasion of their 30th anniversary. Happy anniversary, WGBF, and best wishes to all of your listeners. This is Hal Gibney speaking. Tonight, hear Lily Palmer and Rex Harrison in the NBC Star Playhouse on the NBC Radio Network.
Gunsmoke, brought to you by Chesterfield. Chesterfield packs more pleasure because it's more perfectly packed, thanks to Accuray. They satisfy the most.
Around Dodge City and in the territory on West, there's just one way to handle the killers and the spoilers, and that's with a U.S. Marshal and the smell of gun smoke. Gunsmoke, starring William Conrad, the transcribed story of the violence that moved west with young America, and the story of a man who moved with it.
I'm that man, Matt Dillon, United States Marshal. The first man they look for and the last they want to meet. It's a chancy job, and it makes a man watchful and a little lonely. Oh, morning, Kitty.
Well, you're out early today.
I'm a working man. I have to keep regular hours.
Then what were you doing at the Long Branch at 2 o'clock this morning?
Well, sometimes it's a regular 24 hours, just like you.
Well, at least I make good money at it.
Kitty, would you really like to see me settle down and run a saloon?
You might get to like it.
All right, I'll do it.
When?
When I'm about 50.
I thought so.
Good morning, Miss Kitty.
Oh, hello, Chester.
Here's a letter for you, Mr. Dillon.
Oh, thanks, Chester.
The envelope says it's from Judge Rambo over in Wichita.
Mm-hmm.
Anything important?
Yeah, it's a court order for eviction. Yeah, seems Brandon Teague didn't file legally on his land over by Wagon Mound.
Did you say Brandon Teague?
What, do you know him, Kitty?
Everybody knew him around Abilene.
Yeah, he had a pretty bad reputation then, I guess.
Doesn't he still?
Well, I haven't seen him for some time, but he's married now, and he's trying to prove up some land.
Well, I don't envy you trying to put him off it. Brandon Teague never shoved very easy that I recall.
Well, we'll ride out there this afternoon, Chester.
Be sure your gun's loaded, Matt.
Well, maybe I won't need it, Kitty.
Want to bet?
No, I guess not.
You ask me, Teague's gone and built himself a mighty nice place out here, Mr. Dillon.
Yeah, he's doing fine. Hello, Teague.
Hello, Marshal. Chester?
All right, Teague.
What brings you out this way?
Well, here, you might as well read it yourself.
What's this? Court order. Immediate eviction. What's this all about, Marshal? I got my deed to this place.
Yeah, but you failed to register it at the land office, Teague.
Nobody told me about that.
I'm sorry.
You'll be a whole lot sorry you try to put me off this land, Marshal.
Brandon, who are you talking to?
You stay inside, Sarah. It ain't nothing.
Well, then it won't hurt if I come out.
This is my wife, Marshal Dillon and Chester Proudfoot.
How you do, mister?
Ma'am?
Is there trouble, Brandon?
They say we got no legal right to this place, Sarah. I didn't register the deed or some fool thing.
Oh,
Now,
no.
don't you worry. Ain't nobody gonna move us off, law or no law.
It's a court order, Teague.
I ain't wore a gun since I got married, Marshal, but I can sure go put one on.
We're going to have a child, Marshal. Most any day now.
And we ain't moving. We ain't starting over again.
Oh, if we have to, we can do it. I'd rather die and see you go to fighting again, Brandon. Now you think on it.
It's a hard thing for a man to swallow, but I can't go agin her. I ain't putting on my gun.
Now, why don't you go in and tell her that?
When'll I tell her we got to get off the place?
Oh, there's no hurry.
What about that immediate eviction?
Well, I'll be responsible for that.
I guess I ought to be grateful to you.
No, Teague, not to me. Well, goodbye.
Bye, Marshal. Chester.
Bye, Teague. When are you going to put him off, Mr. Dillon?
I'm going over to Wichita, Chester. I'll find out there.
You've heard Bobby Haggard whistling it on radio and television. Right now, a country-style version. Okay, partners?
Packs more pleasure, packs more pleasure. Chesterfield packs more pleasure because Chesterfield's more perfectly packed.
It stands to reason a cigarette made better and packed better, smokes better, tastes better. And Chesterfield is more perfectly packed by Accuray. This electronic miracle removes human error in cigarette manufacture. So Accuray Chesterfield is firm and pleasing to the lips, mild yet deeply satisfying. Yes, Chesterfield gives you something no other cigarette can give you.
Chesterfield packs more pleasure because Chesterfield's more perfectly packed.
To the touch, to the taste, Chesterfield packs more pleasure because it's more perfectly packed. By Chesterfield, mild, yet they satisfy the most.
Hello, Judge.
Marshal Dillon. What are you doing in Wichita?
Well, I came to see you.
Oh, that's so?
It's about that court order you sent me, Judge.
Which court order, Marshal?
The one to evict Brandon Teak off his land near Wagon Mountain.
Oh, that. Yes, I remember. What's the trouble? Is he putting up a fight?
No, he isn't.
Well, he sure must have changed. I remember Teak around here. He was a wild one.
Well, he's married now, Judge. As a matter of fact, they're expecting a child any day.
A child?
Mm-hmm. So, I told him that they could take their time about moving.
Take their time?
Yeah.
That order was to evict them at once, Marshal.
Yeah, I know that, Judge.
There's no room for sentiment in the law, Marshal Dillon. What's right is right, and what's legal is legal.
Look, Judge, Teak's been on that land for over a year. How come this business about failing to register his deed just came up?
It was only recently brought to my attention.
And who brought it to your attention?
Lee Sprague. Not that it makes any difference.
Lee Sprague, huh? He owns a lot of land around Wagon Mountain, doesn't he?
And he's filed on this. There's nothing irregular about it, Marshal, if that's what you're thinking.
Well, legally, I'm sure everything's correct, Judge.
You can't argue with facts, Marshal. Now stop being a sentimental fool and go do your duty.
Brandon Teak's a changed man, Judge. He's done more than prove up that land. He's proved himself up, too.
Homestead Act, 1862, paragraph 12. After 1 year, if the deed to such land is not duly recorded at the nearest government
office... Oh, never
office...
mind, Judge. I know how it reads.
Well, then start acting like it. I can hold even a United States Marshal in contempt of court, you know.
Yeah, sure you can. You got a lot of power, Judge. But there's only one thing wrong.
And what's that?
You never learned how to use it.
Marshal Dillon.
I want to talk to you, Sprague.
Come in.
Thank you.
How'd you know I was in Dodge today?
I found out. It's about Brandon Teak, Sprague.
Something wrong?
No, not legally. Judge Rambo made that pretty clear.
Want to tell me what's bothering you, Marshal?
Yeah, sure. I think Brandon Teak deserves that land more than you do.
Marshal, I'm in the land and cattle business, and I'm making out mighty well. No man can accuse me of ever doing anything illegal or dishonest. But everybody knows I practice sharp, and I'll go on practicing sharp, too.
Even against a man like Teak, who's hung up his gun and settled down and tried to make a life for him and his family?
What do you mean, his family?
There's a child coming any day now.
Then he's better off in town, Marshal.
What?
My wife stayed in the country. That's why I lost her. Looks to me I'm doing Teak a favor.
You got an awful easy conscience, Sprague.
No use arguing, Marshal. You got your order. Now go put him off.
No, Sprague, I'm not going to do it.
What?
I couldn't hold my head up if I had any part of the kind of law you and Judge Rambo want.
You mean that?
I do.
I ain't gonna let you stand in my way, Marshal. You're in for trouble.
It's Brandon Teak and his missus both talking that fellow, Mr. Dillon.
You recognize him, Chester?
No, sir, I don't. He's a stranger to me.
Yeah.
Looks like they're all head up over something, don't it?
Yeah.
Miss Teak hadn't ought to be standing out in the heat of the day this
We'll
way.
let Marshal Dillon settle this, Haley.
He's got nothing to do with it no more.
Man,
How to do, Marshal?
what's the trouble here, Teak?
You told me there was no hurry about our leaving, Marshal.
Wait a minute. Where'd you get that badge, mister? Who are you?
I'm Jim Haley, Marshal. Deputy Sheriff from Wichita.
Wichita? Well, how'd you get here?
I took the Santa Fe to Dodge, then I rented me a horse.
Answer me, Haley.
Judge Rambo sent me. I guess he felt the law needed a little enforcing down this way.
He's got a court order, Marshal, just like the one you had.
It's plumb legal. And I want you people to pack up and be out of here by tomorrow.
Just a minute, Haley.
I can take care of him, Marshal.
No, Brandon, there'll be no fighting.
Now, sir,
You ain't gonna do nothing except move, Teak, and right now.
No.
Woman, you let go my arm!
Sarah!
Now, wait a minute, Marshal. She shouldn't have grabbed my arm like that. I was only trying to do...
Get his gun, Chester.
Yes, sir.
Is she hurt, Teak?
You all right, Sarah?
I'll be all right.
She only grabbed his arm. He's gone and hurt her, Marshal, flinging her off like that.
Chester,
Yes, sir.
jump on your horse and ride for Dodge, huh? Tell Doc to get out here. Fast.
Ain't Doc never coming out of that house?
It's been a long time, hasn't it?
She shouldn't have grabbed me. I didn't mean to hurt her.
Haley, why don't you keep quiet? Nobody wants to hear from you.
Look, Mr. Dillon, there's Doc.
Huh?
You don't look none too happy.
Well, Doc?
The baby's dead, Matt.
Oh, my.
That's too bad.
Well, I didn't do it. I only pushed her a little.
I told you to shut up, Haley.
There wasn't a chance of saving the baby. It's her I've been working on. And she's going to be all right now, Matt.
Yeah. Well, good for that, anyway.
Hey, Doc, tell you, Marshal?
Yeah, Teak. I'm sorry to hear it.
I'm sorry, too, but you can't blame me for it.
Haley, I just now promised my wife I wouldn't kill you. Don't make me break it.
Come on, Haley. I'm taking you to Dodge with me.
Hey, now, look here. Ain't you forgetting I'm a lawman, too, Marshal?
I'd like to forget it. It doesn't make me very proud of being one.
I come here to do a job, and I'm going to do it.
I promised her I wouldn't kill you now, Haley, but you come back here and I promise you I will. A man can only take so much.
I'll be back.
No, you won't. I'm throwing you in jail for a while.
Jail?
Teak, as soon as your wife's better, you come see me, huh? I don't know what I can do, but things aren't going on this way.
Where are you listening to Gunsmoke? In your kitchen? Getting ready for Sunday supper? Maybe in your living room, relaxing? Or out driving? Say, be sure and watch the road. But remember, there's pleasure ahead when you smoke Chesterfield. When you satisfy yourself with Chesterfield's better taste and mildness. It stands to reason. A cigarette made better and packed better smokes better, tastes better. And Chesterfield is more perfectly packed by Accuray. This electronic miracle removes human error in cigarette manufacture. So Accuray Chesterfield is firm and pleasing to the lips, mild, yet deeply satisfying. Yes, Chesterfield gives you something no other cigarette can give you.
Chesterfield packs more pleasure because Chesterfield's more perfectly packed.
To the touch, to the taste, Chesterfield packs more pleasure because it's more perfectly packed. By Chesterfield. Mild, yet they satisfy the most.
Hello, Chester.
Hello, Doc.
Where's Matt, Chester?
In the office, talking to Lee Sprague.
Sprague? It's a little late to be talking to him, isn't it?
I'd say so. You sure Brandon Teague's coming to Dodge today, Doc?
That's what he told me. There's a neighbor woman staying with his wife. Not that she really needs anybody now.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
It's only been a week, but she's a strong woman. Oh, well, here we are.
Huh? Yeah, oh, my God, he did come.
Hello, Doc. Chester.
Oh, hello, Teague. How's the patient?
She's pretty good, Doc. Being awful brave about it, but I know how she feels.
Only time will cure that.
I guess so.
Mr. Dillon's in the office, Teak. He wanted you to go right on in when you got here.
Okay. Oh, hello, Teague. Come on in.
You know Lee Sprague?
Yeah, I know him.
Hello, Teague.
Sprague and I were over at the land office this morning. I think we got everything straightened out.
What do you mean?
Here. Take a look at this.
What is it?
That's a deed to the land you're on, Teak, and this time it's legally registered.
Yeah, sure. In your name.
That's right.
You help him with this, Marshal?
Well, I wanted to be sure that there weren't any loopholes, Teak.
You know, if it wasn't for my wife, you people would have to shoot me off that place.
Teak, I want to tell you something.
Ain't you said enough, Sprague?
No. Now, listen. I'm a greedy man, Teak, and I'll take anything I can get, legally. But Marshal Dillon here has been talking pretty hard to me lately.
Sure, and I've been listening to him, too.
I guess I'd have gone right on, and I could have, till I heard about your baby.
Why should that matter to you?
I lost my son, Teak. But I lost my wife, too.
Taking my land gonna help you?
You tell him, Marshal.
He's not taking your land, Teak.
That deed's in his name, ain't it? Didn't you go along to be sure he didn't make any mistakes?
There aren't any mistakes this time. Sprague can deed that land to anybody he wants to now. All clear. And it's yours.
I'm not giving it to you. It's yours anyway.
I'll tell Sarah. And I'll tell her she was right all along about not fighting. Yeah. Well, what about you, Marshal? Ain't there going to be trouble you jailing a deputy sheriff?
Well, as soon as he gets back to Wichita, I suppose there might be some trouble, yeah. But don't you worry about that, Teak. I've always wanted to see California anyway.
In a moment, our star, William Conrad.
What's your idea of vacation pleasure? Mountains? Seashore? Lake? Wherever you go, here's an idea for your smoking pleasure. Take along a couple of cartons of Chesterfields. Chesterfields are firm, packed full, give you full-time flavor that's bound to make whatever you're doing more enjoyable. Vacation bound, buy Chesterfields, by the carton. Mild, yet they satisfy the most.
You know, on the frontier, a horse thief was often caught and hung because someone else's brand was on the animal he'd stolen. But next week, a man is hung because his horse has no brand at all. But that was the West. Good night.
Gunsmoke. Produced and directed by Norman McDonald, stars William Conrad as Matt Dillon, U.S. Marshal. Our story was specially written for Gunsmoke by John Meston, with music composed and conducted by Rex Corey. Sound patterns by Tom Hanley and Bill James. Featured in the cast were Joseph Kearns, Vic Perrin, Helen Cleve, Paul Dubov, and Will Wright. Parley Bear is Chester, Howard McNear is Doc, and Georgia Ellis is Kitty.
Live modern. Smoke L&M.
Live modern. Change to L&M.
Only with L&M can you enjoy the full, exciting flavor of today's finest tobaccos through the modern miracle of the pure white Miracle Tip. So light up, free up, let your taste come alive. Live modern. Smoke L&M.
Live modern. Change to L&M.
Join us again next week for another specially transcribed story on Gunsmoke.
Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe.